Now to new data from the CDC that shows that COVID levels are on the rise across the nation. All of this just as summer break comes to an end and kids return to school. ABC News medical correspondent Dr. Darien Sutton joins us now. So, Dr. Sutton, the Biden administration announcing that it will start giving out free at-home COVID tests near the end of next month. What do parents need to know as they're starting to send their kids back to school?
Well, I think that the number one thing that parents need to know is that the rates of COVID, flu, RSV, among other viruses that cause a common cold are on the rise. We're seeing it in terms of wastewater analysis and emergency room visits. So many parents are asking that common question, when do I send my kids back to school after an illness? And I think that that's really important to ask. I think the number one factor is making sure that they are fever-free for at least 24 hours. And Morgan, that means fever-free without any fever-reducing medication like Tylenol, ibuprofen, or others. And also just simply making sure that that child is ready. No GI symptoms, and reminding that child to wear a mask, wash their hands, and being cautious around high-touch surfaces.
Great advice there. Another headline that we're monitoring, Dr. Anthony Fauci now recovering after being hospitalized with West Nile. Of course, we know that COVID is also circulating as well. Do parents, people across the country need to be worried about this? And what do they need to be on the lookout for? Well,
overall, the risk for West Nile is relatively low. It can cause symptoms like headache, body aches, vomiting, diarrhea, and in worse, rare cases, something like encephalitis or inflammation of the brain. But the most common thing, or the most important thing that you need to be mindful of, is how to prevent mosquito bites. That includes getting rid of standing water that can be filling up in buckets, gutters, empty tires, and toys, and making sure that you're protecting yourself as you're walking outside. Given the fact that the climate is getting warmer, more and more mosquitoes are outside, so we have to make sure that we're mindful of that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is another story that I've seen on my news feed this week, and it's one that if you have a cat or if you have an animal you want to listen up to. Reports of house cats, mostly living on farms, catching a strain of what's been described as the bird flu. Is this something that pet owners should be cognizant of?
Yeah, so I think that another thing that pet owners should be cognizant of, as you said, mostly living on farms. And so what we're seeing is bird flu, the avian influenza, spreading rapidly around the world, infecting not only birds but also cattle, which is why we talk about pasteurization of milk being so important in preventing it. Now we're seeing mostly cats that were exposed to infected animals. So I think most of those who are cat owners who want to be mindful, if your cat is outside hunting wild birds, that is a risk factor. You want to avoid feeding your pets raw food. And then, of course, again, pasteurization works to prevent illnesses. So you want to make sure that you, as well as your pets, are drinking not or pasteurized milk and avoiding raw milk.
Got it. Dr. Darien with the best advice. We appreciate it.
Of course. Great.